All right, we're off and running Tuesday night on the Krueger Show, June the 25th, 2024. Hope everybody's having a great day today. Warm day out in the creek. Spent some time in the city today. Welcome to the Krueger Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're in both spots, and they're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Go get the brisket chili. So go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue, down in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Call my friend Anthony Catania, good guy, 831-521-5264 for all your sports cards and collectible needs. And the first Friday of every month, they do a little sidewalk deal out in front of the store. So check that out. First Friday of every month throughout the warm summer months. Give Anthony Catania a call. And also thanks to Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you click on the link in the description and use that promo code KRUEG, K-R-U-E-G, and they will match you up to your first $100. Invader 49er jumps in, says, punctuality might not be Larry's strong suit, but he's free. Thank you. John Mason says, always late. All right, there you go. Enough of that. Don't make me turn on the audience. I've been known to turn on the audience. Kev says, Dad, don't turn on the audience. I said, all right. I promise I won't turn on the audience. On the hook says, Adam Peters initiated the whole thing. Ex-49er assistant general manager, knew Brandon Aiyuk contract status, knew the 49ers were gonna J. J being what? Jump? Yeah, gonna jump. What else? G Martinez says, I forgot there was a show. What? Come on. Let's not overdo it. Invader 49er, if not missing Peters is wrong, I don't want to be right. There you go. Well, we're off and running. Thanks for checking out the Krueger Show. Hope you enjoyed it, everybody. Good night. Now, all right, we're in and we're out. It's going to be a quick show, but it's not going to be that quick. I told Raj, 30, 40 minutes, but, I usually go hour and a half. Raj and I have gone 2 hours before. We may have gone more than 2 hours. But I want to get into this first topic. And, Kev titled the stream, Aiyuk responds to 49ers Commanders trade report. And that is, it's like the Brandon Aiyuk story is the story that just will not end. This story will not go away. But just another day, another rumor involving Brandon Aiyuk. And this one comes from Adam Schefter, potentially involving a trade with the Commanders, who have Adam Peters, who did play a hand in drafting Aiyuk. And this report comes one day after Aiyuk requested a meeting with the 49ers. And according to the reports I'm reading, the Niners and the Commanders discussed a potential Brandon Aiyuk trade before the draft. The Commanders opted against making the deal. Brandon Aiyuk saw this on Twitter and reacted with, but I thought the Niners were never trying to trade me. So what gives? And, it's like this little game of cat and mouse, and it's rather tedious at this point. It's rather tedious. First of all, what do you make of the fact that Aiyuk wanted to meet with the 49ers and said that he's taking some of their contractual offers personally? That was the story within the last 24 hours before this story came up. And then Ryan Clark said that when he talked to Aiyuk, Jaden Daniels from the Commanders was there with him. Of course, the two played together at Arizona State, and they're good buddies. A lot of people are reading into that Aiyuk would like to maybe in the meeting told the Niners that he would like to be traded to the Commanders. This is all the while, Aiyuk has maintained that he wants to be a Niner. He doesn't want to go anywhere. The Niners have maintained that they want Aiyuk. It's pretty clear that Aiyuk wants his price, and the Niners want theirs. What's your read on the latest, Raj?
Oh man, this is so much drama. It's like a soap opera. It's as Brandon Ayuk
And
turns, whatever you want to call it.
tell
It's
us, these are the days of Ayuk's time, of
yeah, the
Ayuk's life.
These are the days of Brandon Ayuk. That's actually. I remember when my mom, when I was growing up, she'd sit there, throw on the soap operas on the telly, and that's literally what this is. Every year, the
Grandma
49.
used to love As the World Turns.
Yeah, this
As
is
the
as Ayuk.
world turns.
This is as Brandon Ayuk turns. So, couple things here. That report. I mean, so I want to get to the Instagram comment that Ayuk found because I saw this, I posted it, and everybody's posting it. You're right. He basically says, "But I thought the Niners was never trying to trade me." So it was weird because the report said how the 49ers and the Commanders were looking to trade. This was before the draft. We all knew that because John Lynch said, "Hey, I'm looking to trade Debo and Ayuk. If there's a bill, if there's a
Well, I don't
chance."
know if looking to trade, but they were listening to offers.
They're listening to offers. Okay, maybe I phrased that wrong. They were looking at offers that were. I mean, you have to. It's due diligence season. It's the trade. That's going to happen during. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen during the draft. That's when things happen, right? If you get a big offer, yeah, you're going to try to improve your team any way you can. And if you get a first round pick and more, John Lynch didn't sugarcoat it. He says, "Look, we're going to look at offers. We didn't find anything we like." So for Brandon Ayuk to sit there and say, "Well, I didn't think that the Niners like." It was kind of a silly response. Like, it's like sarcastic. Like, have you been following the news, Brandon Ayuk? Like, John Lynch, your GM told you this was a possibility a couple weeks. So I feel like he's definitely being a little petty here. I don't know. I know he wants his contract the way he wants it. Whatever the rumors are saying, he wants 30 million or Amon Ra money, and the other rumors are saying that the Niners did offer him money, 26, 28, whatever the actual number is. They offered him less than what he wants. So we don't know the actual numbers, but it's just weird because the 49ers have sat there and they've said, we do want you. We want you at this price. And Ayuk saying, "Oh well, I want it at this price." So for him to say he's taking it personal is kind of getting borderline like really petty to me. It's getting really weird because you're taking a $28 million contract personal. Larry, I don't know about you, but if I'm offered $28 million a year, I'm taking it. Like, I get it, $30 million is more, but at that point, it's tomato. It's $30 million to $28 million. Like, that's generational money. That's 2 times more than your salary is right now. You're getting paid double your salary. So I don't know. I feel like Brandon Ayuk's being a little petty, and I love Ayuk, and I hope he signs with the Niners. He said in the interview with Ryan Clark that my first choice is going back to the Niners, but if you can't figure it out, I'm okay with the trade too. But he said his first choice was with the Niners, so I know his intentions are good, but it's a little petty to me. I don't know. I don't know about you. I feel it's petty.
Let's hear from Chase Senior. He had a little video on this. Let's play a little bit of this, and then I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll play a little bit, 30, 40 seconds of this, and you
Yeah.
can get a taste of it. Here's Chase Senior talking a little bit about this exact same topic, Brandon Ayuk, and the latest.
So the Pittsburgh Steelers have been a popular team in trade talks involving Niners wide receivers this offseason, including Brandon Aiyuk, Debo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, because Pittsburgh is desperate to add one. They traded away Deontay Johnson. They didn't really replace him. They drafted Roman Wilson, who's more of a slot guy. They have George Pickens on the outside, who is a blossoming young player who's shown signs of being really good in this league, but they'd love to add another wideout. And throughout the offseason, but ramping up more now, it's been the Washington Commanders, and the Commanders have officially, truly entered the arena. The Niners-Commanders connections. Yesterday, Ryan Clark, former NFL player who played for Pittsburgh and played for Washington, broke the story that Aiyuk was flying to the Bay Area. He was going to meet with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, in addition to his agent, Ryan Williams. In addition to his ESPN duties and covering the NFL, Ryan Clark also hosts the well-known Pivot podcast. They recorded a podcast a few days ago. Aiyuk came to the podcast with Jaden Daniels, who was drafted number 2 by Washington in the draft back in April. He won the Heisman Trophy at LSU last year. Aiyuk and Daniels are best friends. They played together at Arizona State. Last week, Aiyuk was on the TikTok on FaceTime with Daniels saying, "They don't want me back, I swear." And when I was at the NFL Combine back in March, Daniels was asked which professional players does he lean on for advice in the pre-draft process, training, all the hype, the hoopla, the grind. prior to the draft. And he said, Brandon Aiyuk. He said he talked.
All right, there you go. Well, the rest we don't have to play the whole thing, but basically there you go. And he still did a nice job there, kind of summing up this situation. What do you make of the Commanders on this situation? I mean, if the Commanders had 3 second-round picks, if the Niners and the Commanders had a fit on an Aiyuk trade on draft day, even if it was, not a perfect fit. I mean, there was multiple opportunities for the Commanders to acquire Aiyuk, and it sounded like maybe the Niner price might have been kind of high. I don't know if anything's changed since then, other than the market has gone up, and the Niners and the Commanders also have the second most cap room of any team in the NFL. The 49ers are hugged up in a very serious cap situation because they're on the verge of paying Brock Purdy 50, 60 times what they're paying him this year. So they need to roll over as much money as possible and cut corners every way imaginable. You can make the argument they just can't afford Brandon Aiyuk anymore, and they may not be able to afford Debo Samuel either. But what do you think? I mean, if Aiyuk went and met with them, obviously they're either on the same page, and that's a good sign that they met together, or maybe it's, hey, you know what? Bottom line is, I've just decided I want to be a Commander, and I know that if I put anything out, making a trade demand, that kills your ability to get fair value for me. And I know you only want to move me if you can get fair value for me. So how about this? I won't go public with it, but I'm telling you guys that I want the big bag of $32 million. And if you're not going to go there with me, that's fine. But let's move me down the road to another team, because I've got indications, or I feel like there are other teams that might be willing to pay my price tag. That could have been what this meeting was about. Otherwise, what exactly, if the Niners did offer 26 to 28 and he wants 30 to 32 and it's somewhat of an impasse, what are you getting on an airplane for? It's not that complicated of a negotiation. They've made their offer. He's made his ask. They have the final leverage over him. He doesn't. Only leverage he has is to really ruffle feathers and upset the apple cart and kind of, be a bad teammate and kind of, hold out and be a distraction. He may not want to be that. He may have great relationships on the Niners and doesn't want to be a distraction. He may have just said to them, hey, look, unless you guys plan, I'm not giving in. So unless you guys plan on giving in, let's move me on and take what we can get and get down the road. I'd want to play with the Commanders. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think he definitely said those things. Again, I mean, he's been all around. He put on his IG story, he's back in the Bay, and then the next day, oh, surprise, there's a meeting. So he's calculating this. He's definitely trying to make it known, like, hey, I'm here to meet with you guys. I want my money. I want to stay here, but if it's not going to happen, yeah, send me somewhere. But and the Washington thing, like, as was reported from Schefter on that NFL Live clip, that and the comment that he posted on the page, that when we found all this news out today, Washington had their opportunity. They had their chance. So to me, there's something that said to Washington that we're not going to do this. Maybe it was the money. Maybe they didn't want to pay him that much money. Maybe they're like, well, the asking price is even high for us, right? We still got a young team we want to build and develop. It's a lot of money. I get it. Jaden Daniels is his buddy, his friend. So if he does go to another team, he wants to have good chemistry with the quarterback that he's going to play with. I think he has great chemistry with Brock. So I think that's an important matter for him. So I think that's definitely why he's kind of hold on to, Jaden. And like Chase said in that video, that Jaden's leaned on him. So it's like his mentor. It's his buddy. Jaden's first year in the league, rookie. So he's looking at someone that he knows that's gone through the league. So, of course, they're going to be friends. That part to me is like, whatever. They're buddies. They relate to each other. I get that. But for him to bring Jaden Daniels to a podcast, I know it wasn't the meeting with the Niners, but for him to kind of tag along everywhere, I kind of felt that was a little weird. Like, why do you need this guy everywhere? Do your own. You're a grown man. Take care of your own business. Handle your own business. Okay, whatever. But, I mean, I guess Aiyuk's telling everybody, hey, man, I'm going to put my offer out there. This is what I want, guys. Like, let's meet in the middle. But the 49ers, again, it's not like they're not trying to pay him. They've literally offered him. So I think John Lynch also, again, we don't know what was said behind closed doors. I think John Lynch might have also said, hey, look, if you can't figure it out, we're going to pay you on this 5th-year option this year, play you, and down the line, maybe we'll make a trade. But we've tried to trade you. It didn't happen for whatever reason. So my question is, why didn't that trade get sent through when, Washington and them were looking to what happened? Was it the money? Was it the draft picks? Maybe the 49ers offer was too much for Washington. So that tells me that the 49ers, like you said, are trying to look for max value. Of course, they should. But they did insurance themselves by getting 2 receivers. So there's a lot to this. I think the 49ers don't want to lose Aiyuk just because he's a little upset right now. Like he said, he's taking it personal. I think John Lynch also tried to pacify this and say, hey, look, man, take a little breather. This is tough. Negotiations are tough. Let's all calm down. Maybe we can meet again in a couple of weeks. Because I don't think the 49ers just want to get rid of Brandon Aiyuk. Like, also, they need to realize that they need Brandon Aiyuk on this team. I think they know how good he is for them. They love him. Kyle Shanahan traded up to get him. I think the 49ers, in a sense, they don't want to, like, their first option is to keep Aiyuk before getting rid of him. Just like Brandon Aiyuk says, his first option is to stay with the 49ers. Like, I think they both want to have what they want, have Brandon Aiyuk on the 49ers, but they're still just far away from an agreement. It's getting a little out of control,
You wonder about communication and if the Niners were total shot straight with Aiyuk, and if he's shooting straight with them. What I mean by that is, Aiyuk said, "Hey, but I thought the Niners never were trying to trade me." There was the report out on NFL and ESPN that that the Niners and the Commanders discussed a trade before the NFL draft, but Washington ultimately opted out. So if the 49ers went to Brandon Aiyuk and said, hey, look, man, we've never shopped you. We've never offered you anywhere. And yet, he's got people on that side, Peters, maybe, and others saying, hey, they made us an offer, but they wanted the world and we weren't giving them that. But they absolutely offered you to us. We just didn't want to pay their price. What if Aiyuk looks at that as the Niners lied to me?
Yeah.
The Niners said they never shopped me, and Peters said that they shopped me and asked the Commanders for X, and the Commanders just said, nah, we don't want to pay X.
Yeah.
So maybe who knows? I mean, I don't know the situation. I will say this though. If you ask me right now, I mean, the 49ers are really, really deep at wide receiver.
Deep. Yeah.
And if the Commanders really did have an interest in Brandon Aiyuk, the talk that I heard was that Jonathan Allen is a guy that they would be willing to move. That they've already paid Deron Payne, that they've paid other guys on their defensive line, and that they may be open to moving Jonathan Allen. If I could get Jonathan Allen away from the Commanders, I don't need Terry McLaurin. I could go Jahan Dotson and Jonathan Allen, and be pretty happy.
I'd be happy.
I don't think I would do it for Luke McCaffrey.
No.
But if you gave me Jahan Dotson, who's a former first-round pick, who's a good receiver, I think he's not Aiyuk. But if you gave me that kind of a player in Jonathan Allen, I'd consider it. I also heard that that they are not enamored with their first-round pick from last year at corner, Emmanuel Forbes, that he's sitting behind Michael Davis on the depth chart, and he was drafted by the previous regime. But I'll tell you right now, I'd take Emmanuel Forbes. You want Ambry Thomas or one of the Niner young corners and throw Forbes in the deal? But I'm just saying, like, if you're the 49ers, Jonathan Allen, I think, is a piece that you could really use.
Yeah.
You just lost Armstead. Your D-line's not as deep. They just drafted Johnny Newton out of Illinois. So, they have Cleveland Farrell. They have Dorrance Armstrong. They have Deron Payne. They've got Big John Ridgeway. They've got some other guys on their defensive line. If you could get Jonathan Allen and Jahan Dotson for Aiyuk, would you make that trade? Are the 49ers better if they make that trade than if they keep Aiyuk? I think they might be.
I think slightly better. Yeah, you upgrade. I mean, you get a receiver that's still pretty good. He's definitely not better than Aiyuk. But then again, you did draft 2 really solid receivers that you believe in, Cowing and Pearsall. So your wide receiver room is very deep. Like you said, this is a year where the 49ers wide receiver room might be as deep as it's been under Kyle Shanahan. So I know a lot of people would love Terry McLaurin. He's the big name. He's the guy that said, just give me Terry McLaurin. Like, I would love McLaurin. But if you can get Allen and Dotson, who's a really good receiver, you definitely upgraded the D-line and get a star with Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd.
I mean, what would you want? I mean, the thing about Aiyuk that's so painful to consider making this move is I saw a stat today. The NFL leaders in catches of over 20 yards last season. Okay.
He was number 2 towards the end of the
season. Tyreek Hill had 29 catches of 20 plus yards. CeeDee Lamb had 29 catches of 20 plus yards. Brandon Aiyuk had 28 catches of 20 plus yards. But what's really amazing is when you look at Tyreek Hill's targets, he had 171 targets. CeeDee Lamb had 181 targets. And Brandon Aiyuk had 105 targets.
Yeah.
So you could make an argument that Brandon Aiyuk is the most efficient downfield receiver in the NFL. So, I mean, his value, forget the touchdowns and forget, looking at his value, looking at, him on the Niners and saying, well, his value might even be greater than his stats. If you really look closely.
He's made this point. I remember a couple months ago, he made this point, and I think this is been his big negotiating statistic target, tactic, is saying, I'm probably the most efficient top wide receiver in the league. If you look at it, he was 31st in targets. He was number 7 in receiving yards. He was number 2. For the whole season, he was number 1, but number 2 at the end of the season because of a meaningless game at the end in yards per reception. He was he was getting big time plays, like you said, drop it down 20 yards. He was just behind Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. He was putting up good numbers. He's a very efficient receiver as the 4th option for the 49ers. So he's making a case, and I think that's what his case is saying. I'm worth Amon-Ra. I'm worth what Waddle. I'm worth what CeeDee Lamb probably is going to get. I'm worth what those guys are because look at the numbers speak for himself. But the 49ers can come back and say, hey, look, you're our 4th option. Yeah, you're getting single coverage because we have Debo, we have Kittle, we have CMC. So there's an argument to be made on both sides. Could you do it on another team? Could you do it on Washington? So I get where both sides are coming. I think the biggest thing, like you mentioned, what is communication. I think there is a bad communication breakdown somewhere because I think there's a lot of lies being told. We don't know everything that's going on. We have little bits and pieces, little cryptic things from Brandon Aiyuk. We're getting John Lynch saying, hey, look, we're trying to get him back. We love him. It's going to be hard. We're okay with him being on the 5th-year option. I don't think both sides are saying much. Both sides are just trying to keep it, very under wraps, which is the 49ers way of, negotiate. I respect that for both sides, but kind of need to know what's going on here because it's making Brandon Aiyuk look a little petty. You asked me who would I like to have? Man, McLaurin, Dotson, Allen, all those would be great because if you can't keep Brandon Aiyuk happy, you want to make sure you have some good return on investment. I'd rather get players that can help you now because I'm not taking draft picks right now. If you wanted draft picks, you should have done it during the draft time because now if you get draft picks, you gotta wait all year.
Draft picks are a non-starter right now.
Yeah,
I mean, you're inside your Super Bowl window. You can't look Trent Williams in the eye and say, we just traded our number 1 wide receiver for draft picks that we're not even going to, realize until April of next year. He's going to look at you in the eye and say, guys, help me win a Super Bowl. So, do what you can to help me win a Super Bowl. Don't hurt my chances. Lou says, Larry, Jonathan Allen is no different than Hargrave. They both play the pass, but neither one plays the run very well. Come on. Oh no, dude, I think you're wrong, Lou. I think Jonathan Allen's a beast against the run. Hargrave, you got to be kidding me. Hargrave is solely a pass rusher. I think Allen's much more of a run defender. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but that's my sense of it. I mean, I guess I could look at some other numbers, but Jonathan Allen, in my mind, is a top tier.
At the end of the day, you put Allen on the line with Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Hargrave, Bosa, Leonard Floyd. I think your D-line vastly improves. He may not be the skill that, like you said, he may not be the top tier run defender, but it definitely swells up your D-line, which last year was piss poor. And you have a new defensive coordinator. And honestly, I think if they improve this defense and make it that much stouter, it helps the 49ers. This is a position where you want to make sure it's as strong as it can be. So I don't hate the move. Again, if you're trying to, the whole point is if you are going to get rid of Brandon Ayuk, you want to at least have some impact right away. I think Allen would help your team and your chances of getting to the playoffs and making that Super Bowl run if you have to trade away Brandon Ayuk. Now, you trade him away and you get draft picks. Those draft picks, they're not stopping the run, Larry. Those draft picks aren't rushing the passer. So at the end of the day, yeah, Allen would be good for the immediate, right now, try to win a Super Bowl with this window, with this team.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Niner wide receiver core, they're pretty. They got guys. I mean, no, we don't even talk about some of these guys, but Chris Conley. If you watch that Super Bowl, I watched it again the other day. Chris Conley made a huge play on special teams.
That, Larry?
He made a couple plays. I mean, I'm just saying, Chris Conley is, gonna if Aiyuk's here, and Debo's here, and JJ's here, and Cowing's here, and Pearsall's here. Well, everybody else is gone. So Ronnie Bell, Tay Martin, Chris Conley, they're all cut. So I don't know. I mean, I personally, now that you got Cowing and Pearsall, and if Pearsall is going to be a guy who can step right in and make a contribution, maybe the need's more elsewhere, D-line, O-line, than it is at wide receiver.
Yeah,
that's why Jonathan Allen, to me, would be an upgrade. Luce's stop Jonathan Allen is not an upgrade. Yeah, no, I read that one before. No, but that's, what can I say, Lou? Invader says, Larry's a better man than me. I couldn't watch that Super Bowl.
I don't know how you did that. How can you put yourself through that pain and torture, Larry? Stop it. Crazy.
Atomic Proton says, Ryan Hensley said he had inside sources. I don't know.
I got a question for you, Larry.
I don't have any inside sources.
I got a question for you, Larry. So
yes. I don't answer questions. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So because of the fact the 49ers drafted Pearsall, they drafted Cowing, and they have this abundance of wide receivers, right? We're sitting here talking about how this wide receiver team on the 49ers is probably the most stacked they've had in a long time. Like, do you think that's deterring them from just giving Brandon Aiyuk the money and saying, all right, screw it, we'll pay the $30 million? Because they do have these other receivers, and Pearsall could develop into this guy. Like, maybe that's why the 49ers are reluctant to say, we'll just meet you at what you want. Because usually 49ers cave in, okay, we'll give you the money. But they got a lot of receivers. If they get rid of Brandon Aiyuk or he's not getting the big money, they know next year if he walks away in free agency, if they don't give him the extension, they still got an abundance of receivers. So do you think that's maybe the reason why they're not why they're a little hesitant here?
I don't want to. I don't want to say that they have that they're saying one thing and doing another, because that I'm not trying to paint them as, what they're doing is nefarious.
Oh, yeah.
But like last year, they made the evaluation at the end of the year that they were going with Brock Purdy and they were trading Trey Lance. Now, they didn't actually make it official trading Trey Lance until August. And, they kind of denied it along the way. And yet, afterwards, it's come out that they shopped him all throughout the spring, all throughout draft weekend. They cleared enough space going into the draft to absorb a Trey Lance trade. Nobody seemed like they noticed that. They never pulled the trigger on a trade, but ultimately they moved him in August. But it sounds like they made the evaluation to go with Brock over Trey after between the season ending in Philly and the combine. And it was like, Brock's our guy, but we just got to get him healthy. So I kind of feel like that's where they make their evaluations. And, the way they've gone about things with Pearsall and Cowing, I mean, if there's one move that really doesn't make sense, it was drafting Ricky Pearsall 31st overall when you needed offensive linemen, you could argue defensive linemen, a corner, but you went with a wide receiver, despite the fact you have Aiyuk and Debo and Jennings, 1, 2, 3, and you have other guys. You've got Ronnie Bell and Conley and Danny Gray and Trent Taylor and Tay Martin. So that to me was like maybe they made the evaluation that they were going to move on from a receiver, either Debo or Aiyuk, and that's why they went Pearsall in round 1. And now they just haven't made the corresponding move yet, but it could be coming. It still could be coming. And that's actually kind of one of the other stories that is out there that I wanted to hit on here. And that is that Albert Breer is reporting that the 49ers may still wind up moving. There's still a scenario where a team could come and make an offer for Debo Samuel and pry him from the Niners' hands. He argues that the Niners have been dealing with a bottleneck of contracts, and that if they can make a move for a receiver that makes sense for them, that they'll do it. That obviously, I would imagine, would have to come, that would have to be the signing of Aiyuk would have to be a precursor, I would imagine, to any trade involving Debo.
Yeah.
But what do you think? I mean, do you think Debo and Aiyuk are here for the season, or do you think that once Aiyuk signs, if Pearsall and Cowing look good this summer, they would pull the trigger on an Aiyuk trade and send him elsewhere?
I mean, or Debo trade. Honestly, yeah.
Debo trade, I should say.
And that's why I asked the question. They drafted a receiver at 31. It's an insurance policy. So if they feel like they can trade one of their receivers in Debo and Aiyuk, then they got Pearsall in the cut. They got Cowing in the cut. So I definitely do think there's a possibility. I think Albert Breer, makes a good point. I don't think it's going to happen. I still think BA and Aiyuk or Debo and Aiyuk will ride it out this year. Maybe it's their last ride, like some people have said, together. Because next year, I could see them making a move, getting rid of probably Debo. I don't want it to happen. I love Debo. I'm a big Debo guy. I think Kyle's a Debo guy, but financially, it just might make sense, especially if Pearsall becomes this great guy that we're like, oh wow, okay, you can move on from Debo. I think that's what the 49ers maybe are banking for. It's this insurance policy, but we don't know because Pearsall has not played a down in the NFL. He has good tape. He looks good. He has a work ethic right now that everybody's raving about. Again, everything looks good so far. We'll see when the pads come on in the NFL level. It's a lot harder at college. So, yeah, I could definitely see it as a possibility. Again, John Lynch didn't hide it. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He said during the draft, we've entertained offers for Debo. We've entertained offers for Brandon Aiyuk. If we get something that tickles our fancy, we'll make the move. But nothing was there, right? As we talked earlier, Brandon Aiyuk, Commanders kind of fell through. So I'm sure if there's an offer that they can't refuse, yeah, they'll do it because they do have a lot of receivers on this team. Again, we've mentioned it many times tonight, Larry. This is probably their deepest wide receiver team they've had with the Kyle Shanahan era. So absolutely, if an offer comes and they're so hyped and gung-ho on Pearsall, I see it happening. But I think this year we're going to see Debo and Aiyuk run it back for one more year.
That's what I would like to see, but I'm open-minded if it doesn't come down that way. A couple other 49er topics I want to hit here. One today is the birthday for Malik Mustafa. It sounds like he's going to wear 43 this year. Man, looking at this guy on the practice field, he's very, very impressive. I'm wondering, do you think this guy is a day one plug and play starter? Because Hufanga says he wants to be back for week 1, but it sounds like the likelihood is not really good. Is it possible that Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa are the Niners starting safety tandem week 1?
Yeah, if Hufanga's not ready to go week 1 and he's still, looking like he's not 100%, and Mustafa comes in and he looks like the dog that we've all heard he is, yeah, I think that's the safest thing to do. You get this youngster in there, throw him out there, get him his rep, get him his burn, and when Hufanga's 100% ready, he'll get his spot back because, he's all-pro. But you got to be safe. You don't want to throw this guy out there just because, he's healthy. But you don't want to throw him to the Wolves too early because if he re-injures himself, then you're kind of screwed. So I think that, yeah, Mustafa has a realistic ability to start at the beginning of the season, dependent on Hufanga's recovery, how he's feeling when he comes back at training camp. They're going to have to evaluate it. And he's going to have to feel himself if he feels like 100% ready, mentally, physically. And again, Mustafa, if he goes out there and wrecks it in training camp, then yeah, definitely there's a possibility. I still think Hufanga is going to try everything he can to be ready for week 1 because he's a warrior, he's a gamer. That's his mentality. When he sets his mind to something, he's going to try to do it at the best of his abilities. But I'm really intrigued by Malik Mustafa. He looks great. The reports I've heard are nothing but outstanding for him. So yeah, I'm excited to see him next month in training camp, and I'm very intrigued for this young safety tandem of Jair Brown and Mustafa moving forward. Without anything, regardless, even if Hufanga is 100% ready to go and he starts week 1, I still think you're going to see a good dosage of Mustafa in the lineup, special team, something.
It's interesting. Hufanga says he wants to come back week 1, which, is going to be September 9th against the Jets. He tore the ACL in November.
Mhm.
So it was late in the year that he tore the ACL. It used to be kind of a 1-year rehab, but maybe he can come back and be ready by week 1. One of the guys that I read about this week, and I'm eager to see him this summer, is another guy that we really haven't talked very much about, and that is the undrafted free agent Jalen Mahoney from Vanderbilt. But it's interesting. A lot of people are saying that he's an underdog that's worth paying attention to. There's an interesting story out by Justin Mello. Are you familiar with Justin Mello?
Yeah.
So Justin Mello says Mahoney did not receive an invite to this year's NFL Scouting Combine, but he did achieve intriguing workout numbers at Vandy's Pro Day. This is what Mello wrote. He says the Rock Hill, South Carolina native had 19 reps at 225 on the bench. That's just 3 shy of the combine leader among all the safeties, who was Malik Mustafa, by the way.
Mm.
And he says, Mello says Mahoney also ran an acceptable 4.54 40-yard dash. We didn't really talk that much about Mahoney, and he seems like he's kind of the one guy at safety, but that's kind of unaccounted for as far as what kind of role is he going to play, or does he have a legitimate chance to make the roster? But I'll say this: I noticed him on the practice field. I mean, you can see he moves well, and the 19 reps at 225 means there's good strength there, and that's weight room dedication. If there is one spot on the Niner defense that's a little on the thin side, I would say it's safety. So who knows? Maybe Jalen Mahoney might be a guy that makes this roster. We'll see how his summer looks, but it sounds like Mello thinks that he's got pretty good athleticism and good strength.
Yeah, he sent me that on Twitter. He always sends me some his messages and stuff like that. I talked to the guy. So yeah, I saw that. Thought that was interesting. Again, the 49ers could always use secondary help. You got Hufanga is coming back from injury, as we mentioned, and they got a lot of young guys. So definitely it doesn't hurt to have depth. Maybe he makes the practice squad if he plays his cards right during the training camp and everything. But also they have a lot of other defensive backs, versatile guys they added this offseason that might be moved and converted, because the 49ers, they kind of run that way. They like versatile guys that can kind of play around the field. We saw that with Jimmy Ward, right, before in the past. They've kind of done that with Demo, where they kind of throw them around the slot, the outside, the inside, whatever. And I think there's a lot of other guys that they can try to maneuver around. Isaac Yiadom, that's a guy. They have Rock Ya-Sin. Maybe he can move inside it, or maybe play a little safety, depending on how he's, transitioning to the defense. So there's a lot of players in the 49ers secondary that are a little versatile. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I know the wide receiver class is our team is deep on the 49ers. This secondary, there's a lot of players. I really can't wait to see how they go out in training camp. We've mentioned it before: Darrell Luter, Sam Womack, just a lot of guys that I feel like are ready to take this leap, and it's going to be stacked. It's going to be hard to make this team in secondary.
No question. And a lot of people feel like Yiadom from the Saints could be the underrated offseason pickup. He's coming off a career year. He had an 81.1 defensive grade from Pro Football Focus. That's his highest ever mark from PFF. And if you look at that number and put him on the Niners last year, that would have given him the second best PFF grade among all Niner corners, with only Mooney Ward at 82.6, with a higher mark.
Wow.
So Yiadom might, he's interesting. Opposing quarterbacks completed only 50% of their throws when they targeted Yiadom. He held them to an 84.4 passer rating. Man, I mean, if he does this year what he did last year with New Orleans, Yiadom might be that third corner.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, they got him. They got like young guys. They got Renardo Green, who is really promising. This secondary battle might be their most intense battle. Like nobody's talking about it, because you're right. This guy he was one of the best defenders with the Saints last year. So I think the Niners have a really, really good competition brewing next month. I'm so excited to see, because for many years I felt like they just didn't address cornerback, and I was one of those guys on Twitter screaming, "Get a damn corner! Go get a corner!" Oh my God, screaming. And now it's like, well, yeah, pretty good secondary. This is going to be a very, very hard competition. Like, there's going to be some guys that don't make the cut where, like, oh, he can make a team. He can make a lot of other teams, and that practice squad is going to be very talented with secondary players. If they can keep those guys after they get waived or cut, it's going to be a very talented practice squad.
The Athletic says the Niners are not having a good offseason, and they project them to be one of the overrated teams this year.
Of course.
Here's what they wrote. Kyle Shanahan always gives them a chance, and Brock Purdy again has a talented supporting cast, although Brandon Aiyuk faces an uncertain future. Questions loom over the defense, however, with first-year coordinator Nick Sorensen directing a unit that lost Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw to free agency and must deal with the extended absence of Dre Greenlaw, who's recovering from Achilles surgery. The Niners hope to put another heartbreaking Super Bowl defeat in the past and make another run at a ring, but doing so could prove more challenging than many expect. What do you think? Niners overrated? I could see this guy's making the argument.
They're not overrated, Larry. They're overhated. This just everybody in the offseason loves the hate. Oh, shit on the Niners. Oh, they're gonna be bad. Yeah, I'm using the gremlin voice because those people that say that stuff, they're just gremlins. They got nothing better. Oh, 49ers are gonna suck. Got the same team for the most part. They got better this offseason, I think, in certain positions. Maybe they need to do a better job O-line, but yeah, no, it's all offseason fodder. People are gonna hate on the Niners because that gets a lot of clicks. It gets a lot of attention. 49er fans are going to take that up and say, oh, I think they're the most overhated team, not overrated team.
There you go. Well, that's a good way to look at it. Interesting article out right now written by a guy named Patrick McAvoy, and he says the Niners could sign Stephon Gilmore to bolster their secondary. So what do you think of that? I mean, the Niners have the sixth most cap space available, just over $30 million. They're obviously inside their Super Bowl window. They've got Mooney. They've got, Lenore. They just drafted Renardo Green. Gilmore is one of the top free agents out there. They're saying he could add some power to the Niner defense. He was the 2019 DPOY. He had 5-time Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro. The Niners can afford him. I just don't know. I mean, he's regressed a little bit. I kind of like their depth at the corner right now. I don't think that not that Gilmore wouldn't help, and you can never have enough good corners, but I just don't think they need him, to be honest. I think corner is a spot they've got covered.
Yeah, we just had a whole conversation of how deep this cornerback or secondary depth is. So I wouldn't hate it. I remember a couple years back, I was pounding the table when I was sitting here saying they need a quarter. Gilmore was one of the guys. Like, oh my God. And then they got Mooney Ward, and I was like, okay, I like the move. Up and coming player who's really proved himself. Honestly, I think the Niners could just extend Deommodore Lenore and Mooney Ward. Use the money wisely for those guys because I think they've become a really good duo. I mean, I wouldn't hate Gilmore. I like him, but he's a little veteran. He's a veteran, a little older. So I don't see him starting, I don't think, because they got Mooney and Lenore and maybe third. But we just mentioned there's a lot of competition for that slot corner spot. That's not really Gilmore's, position. So I don't know. It kind of doesn't make sense to me. But again, he's a good name. I think, Niners getting a veteran like that wouldn't hurt them. But I just don't know where he'd fit into this roster, especially at this point. And then it begs the question, would Stephon Gilmore want to take like a bench role, right? I don't know if he'd want to do that. I think he still wants to start. I think he's a really good player still, former DPOY. So I don't know. It's a weird one. I think it's a weird fit. It's just like some of those safeties that they tried to look into, Blackman, Justin Simmons, like they wanted those guys, good veteran, solid safeties. But the point with them was they wanted to start, and the 49ers they didn't know if they can offer a starting position because they're still not sure what's going to happen with Hufanga. So I don't know. It's a weird fit to me. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I would probably go crazy and be hyped if we get him, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Let's go to the Star Chats. We're gonna end the show a little early tonight.
Wow.
Can you imagine? I told you. I said maybe 35, 45 minutes. We're 45 in. We're coming down the home stretch.
I'm going to tell these guys. Last week, Larry's like, we'll do a 30-minute show. We went on for an hour and 45 minutes.
Hour and 45 minutes. And even then, it was still like, didn't want to end it. Frank Tom Ocean, member for 4 months. Thank you, Tom. He says, shout out to LK and the legend, Raj. So who will next season's drama contract be? Seems like this is becoming the norm. Great show, gentlemen. Go Niners. I'll say Aaron Banks. I think Aaron Banks is the guy because you know what? He's going to get offers, and yet the Niners, I think he's going to have a good year. I like the Niners to do great things this year, make the playoffs, maybe get back in the Super Bowl. I think Banks is going to be viewed as a very key cog, and yet the money that they're going to pay Purdy is going to be prohibitive, make the Banks returning prohibitive. I think Banks. I think Mooney and Lenore, only one of those guys is coming back. It's probably Lenore, but my guess is Banks is the guy that they'll want to retain, but the guard market's going to get out of hand.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. I mentioned that a couple weeks ago. I said, keep an eye on Banks because I can't guarantee him coming back next year. This is a contract year. Let's say he has a Pro Bowl year this year, Blair. Like, it's going to be hard to keep him, especially with Brock Purdy. I know a lot of people are going to say it's Brock Purdy. I just don't think Brock Purdy is going to be a tough negotiator, although I want him to get paid. Like, this is I want Brock Purdy to get as much money as he can. That's it's just a great story. I love Brock. I respect him. He's doing a lot of advertisement stuff. So maybe he'll take a little bit of a discount because he's getting paid a lot. But I agree with you. Aaron Banks, to me, is going to be hard for them to re-sign next year. And I feel like that's why they try to get some guards this year in the draft. Pooney, right? That he could slide to the left maybe next year if he has to. That's going to be a tough one because he's going to be a lot of money. That guard market is not easy. And I think he's going to be maybe a little bit too much for them to pay, Larry. I think that might be the move. I think that might be the one.
That is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough call on that one. By the way, you mentioned Purdy. So you asked for Purdy. We give you a little Brock Purdy. Here's Purdy at his Iowa State football camp.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, man. Sometimes you see Brock Purdy and you're just like, is this dude for real? You know what I mean? I mean, seriously. Intense competitor, but the kids love him, and super humble, and he does not like this braggadocious me guy. He's like the guy that super low key, chill guy that all of his teammates love, and he's great around kids, and he says and does all the right things, and it's just. I don't know. The guy at times it's like John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan must get up and be like, thank God we found that guy.
They got to be like doing cartwheels every morning they wake up because the aura of him just he's last pick of the draft. The kids are like thinking he's a rock star. He hasn't even had a contract extension. He's barely making, decent money compared to other quarterbacks in the league, right? To other players in the league. And the guy's just out there, and they mobbed him. I don't know if you saw the other part of the video. There's a video that came out from that weekend. I mean, the kid they mobbed him. I mean, he looks like a larger-than-life superhero. He's so good with he's so humble. He's got the franchise quarterback, look already unlocked. He's just a nice guy. Like, how can you hate Brock Purdy? He's got that aura, Larry. The young bucks nowadays, they say aura. Yeah. Brock has the aura.
The kid is special. He's special. There's no question. And, it's funny. Kittle saying he's taken another step and he's really taken the lead. And I brought this up to Grant Cohn this week. Quarterback play is so vital to winning that, if you think about it, you could have a really good team. If you don't get good quarterback play, you lose. And it's like quarterback play is like, it's not just a factor. It's like far and away the number one factor in winning in the NFL. You got to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to stop the run. You got to be good in all three phases. You got all these things. But if you're mediocre, but you got a great quarterback, then you're better. If you're mediocre, but you got a bad quarterback, then you're worse than mediocre. It's like, and the 49ers are a very good team with a very good quarterback. And it's just, to me, it's like the fact that they have this kid. It makes me wonder if he didn't exist, would Lynch and Shanahan be on the hot seat right now?
I think so. Because that was the one position. This is the first year, Larry, and we've sat here in the offseason and we haven't discussed the quarterback position ad nauseum. Yeah. Like we usually are fighting quarterback. Oh my God, I gotta go get a draft. They gotta trade. Literally the first offseason where quarterback news has been silent, and I love it. So yeah, I think absolutely, if this wouldn't have hit, they might be a little on their seat might be burning a little bit,
It might be hot. It might be on the hot seat if
Yeah,
it wasn't for Brock.
I think
Blood
so.
Moon says cashing that chip to say it's personal cost BA himself. What?
So he's saying he's cashing in that chip to say that when Brandon Aiyuk said that it was personal, right? The contract talks, that it hurt him. So he's saying, do you think that it hurt Brandon Ayuk's contract negotiation when he said he took it personal?
I don't think so. Do you think it hurts him there?
Yeah, I don't know why you
I mean, it doesn't necessarily make him look good.
It doesn't make him look good.
But I don't think it makes him look bad. It just makes him look like a young guy who's sincere.
Yeah, but you don't mix business and at the end of the day, when you come to work or with business or whatever, you leave your personal stuff at the door. Like, he has to know. I get it. He's young. This is his first contract negotiation, but you don't need to throw that out there. You just need to leave it.
I kind of wonder if Brock, who's basically, when asked about Aiyuk, was like, man, that's above my pay grade, begged out, didn't say anything in support of Aiyuk, almost talked about him in the past tense. And then when he was asked about, the receiver positions, like Kyle and John will figure it out, they'll always get good players, blah, blah, blah. So he kind of didn't support Aiyuk and to some degree. And now you got Jaden Daniels, who's literally hanging out with Aiyuk and, consulting with him every day.
They went shopping.
I wonder if Aiyuk would rather play with Daniels than Purdy.
No, I don't. I mean, they're best friends. I think he, I think he's always going to be his mentor. He's his buddy. They've known each other since college. I don't know. I don't think Brock hung him out to dry or anything. I just think that he didn't.
But he didn't support him. He could have said, "Hey, look, this guy is the MFing man." And we'd be crazy if we let him get out the door because that's my number one receiver. And you know how much I love number one receivers. He could have said anything,
He could have, but I think also he didn't want to get in, like, he's at the point
you want to get involved.
You don't get in, it's not my area to I just zip it. Yeah, he's smart. Just take the high ground. Just don't say nothing.
Well, and it's probably, he probably feels conflicted because he knows that the hard ball they're playing with Aiyuk is almost directly related to the fact that they're going to have to pay him $60 million.
Exactly.
So he probably understands the dynamic.
He knows it's weird and it's a business, and he's watched other teammates on this team have to go through, like, again, and the other players before, they always say, hey, it's his situation. Like, I know Fred Warner last year when Bosa was getting paid, he goes, hey, man, I can't speak on it. That's his contract. I hope he's on the team. But whatever happens, happens. Because Warner kind of said a similar thing. He goes, I love Bosa. I need him on the team. But, hey, at the end of the day, it's not my decision. And Kittle,
it wasn't like Purdy said, hey, we don't need this guy. But he wasn't like, we got to have this guy. It was like, we wish him well. We wish him well. Batman 29 says only 3 teams won the Super Bowl after losing it. Can we do it? Yeah, 50. I think it's like 3 out of 56 teams or something like that. Some ridiculous thing. After losing the Super Bowl, came back. Only 3 of them actually came back and won. One of them was Denver. They lost to Green Bay. They came back. They won the next year. I can't remember who the other teams were. Maybe Dallas. Does that sound right?
Probably. 90s.
Maybe Dallas lost the Super Bowl and came back and won. I'd have to go back and look.
Is it Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh?
I feel like they might be one. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Pittsburgh. They lost to Aaron Rodgers and then they came back the next year with Bettis, maybe?
Maybe. I'd have to look that up.
I know it's definitely Denver. Denver's one of those 3 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers say that it's unlikely for the Niners to win the Super Bowl this year. That's what the numbers say, historical numbers. Brian Nanny says, finally figured out how to comment. LOL, go Niners.
All right, Brian. It was the Patriots, the chat saying Patriots in 2018.
Patriots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's Patriots and it's Denver. And who's the third team?
We're going with Dallas or
Dallas, maybe Colts.
Maybe.
I don't know. It might have been Colts.
I know the Patriots Patriots clears out, but now that third team, I'm not.
Yeah, Patriots is a good guess. That's always a good guess because the Patriots went to a lot of Super Bowls. And we got this one as well. It's not a super, but Monty says, is Kevin Europe or where is he again, Larry? Congrats to him as well. Yeah, Kev graduated from Cal Poly. He's going to be working on the channel this year. We're excited to be working together. But he took a month to go to Europe with his girlfriend. And so he is Paris, Barcelona. I forget exactly where else, but yes, Kev is gone for a month in Europe. So we're not going to see Kev on the Wednesday night call-in shows until training camp, but he will be here in training camp, and the channel will be exploding with content when he returns.
Nice.
So, but wish him luck in Europe. He's having a good time, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Europe with his girlfriend? Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
Good
come on.
time. Come on.
I mean, seriously, you graduate college, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Good for him. I love that for him. The chat, Larry, says it was the Cowboys, 1970 Cowboys. So shout out to the chat.
There you go. There you go. And Fazil Urshad says congrats to Kev. And then we've got Mr. Irrelevant says Kev getting his girlfriend pregnant, Grandpa Larry coming soon.
I don't know if you're ready for that one yet.
I am definitely
too young. You're too young, man.
Come on. This guy, me as a grandfather, I know. Come on,
Larry.
Hey, Monty, look at this one. Breaking news: Niners trade BA to Denver for Mike McGlinchey. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Would anybody which Niner, don't answer this question. Which Niner content creator faced with the news that the Niners just traded Aiyuk for Mike McGlinchey would get off the first article or video saying, good move, Niners?
I don't know if I should answer that, but
Don't answer.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say nothing. Yeah.
Don't answer. What content creator would be most likely to fire off a video saying that the Niners made a great move after they traded Aiyuk to Denver for Mike McGlinchey? You know, there would be somebody who'd be like, not only was it the great move, it was the only move they could make.
Oh my God.
Right. You know, I hate that one too. When someone comes out of the woodwork and is like, not only was it a good move, it was the only move. You know, it's like, shut up. You know, they had no other choices.
There was no choice. It was and then
there
was
no options, Krug. You clearly don't know your content.
So good.
No. Look at that. We got people weighing in now. All right. There we go. Oh, look at this. Somebody threw a chart. Somebody threw a chart reference in there.
Oh, wow.
Man, that's bad. That didn't come from me, Dave. That didn't come from me. Not this time. All right. That's going to do it for us. Raj, what do you got cooking the rest of the week, man? This is like the calm before the storm, man. We're training camp. I mean, can you even work your other job when training camp starts, or is it just
no? I already got it. I take the time off. I have it set. I see some home patients after training camp's over. Like, I get it, but I have it. My boss knows I ain't working. I ain't coming into your building for 2 weeks. Leave me alone. I'm not working. Maybe if it's a day out, like, so some days
you go to every camp day, right? How do you do that? But you buy up tickets to every open day camp.
Every camp. So what
does a ticket cost?
Like $100. I don't know. It's not that bad. I got people that
$100 now.
Yeah, it's like 100. It's because I have people that
it's $100 to go to camp for one day.
No, for the whole time. It's like $10 a day. $10 a day.
Gotcha,
so I pay the person. Like, I buy tickets, but it's hard to get tickets. I have a person where she can get tickets, and I pay her the money and whatever. So let's say that, because they split it up. Let's say that there's camp days on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I'll be off of work Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll go to work on that Monday and Thursday in between, right? And then I'll see patients on those days, my home health. So I try to scatter my schedule, but the other days where there's training camp days, my schedule is blocked because I go to training camp. So that's how we do it.
Man, I can't wait for training camp. The heat of training camp. Atomic says, does Raj go to band camp? No, Raj does not go to band camp.
No, I don't. I knew some band camp people, though. I had a girlfriend.
Band camp. Blood Moon says, Scary Terry plus Luke McCaffrey and a second-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. Take it or leave it, Washington.
I'm calling Lynch. Scary Terry, Luke McCaffrey, second pick. Deal it in. Get it in, guys. Let's go.
If Washington called, Peters is on the line. They say, we're giving you McLaurin, McCaffrey, and our second round pick in the 2025 draft for BA.
Okay.
What do you say?
Yes. Terry McLaurin, he's good. He'll
I
play
say-
for $22 million.
I say yes too.
Christian McCaffrey will be absolutely through the roof for his brother. And then you have the second round pick next year. You could draft someone. I don't know.
I mean, in a way, it almost makes your deep receiver room even deeper.
Although I don't know if we need all those receivers. So I like the Allen trade that you had mocked up earlier a little better. But at this point, I'll take it.
If they're willing to move Terry McLaurin and a day 2 pick, I think I would do that even if they didn't trade McCaffrey. If they included McCaffrey, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it. And I like Aiyuk. I think Ayuk's really a good player. The one thing the Niners can't have, they can't have Aiyuk hold out half the year because he wants more money and then come in just way late in the year because he wants to make sure the year accrues. You know what I mean? If he's going to the mattresses and he's not going to show up and they know that, I think they would be doing the rest of their team a disservice to not move him. If they knew he was going to hold out, they can't allow a player who's under contract for $14 million to hold them hostage to the point where it ruins a Super Bowl year.
Yeah.
I love Aiyuk. I want him to be here, but if he's dug in that deep, that's fine. Because you know what, the bottom line is most receivers only get that one big payday. So I totally understand where he's coming from, but then he's got to understand if the Niners move off.
Yeah, and I think he said that when he, the Ryan Clark, where he mentioned like his main team that he wants to stay with. He wants to play for the Niners first and foremost, but if it can't happen, he's open to a trade. So I think honestly, he's understanding that if it's not going to get to the point where he gets the money where he wants, which I get it, this is his first contract extension in his career. I get it. He wants to maximize his money, but at the end of the day, Terry McLaurin ain't no scrub. So if you get Terry McLaurin, he's a great route runner. He's a fantastic receiver. He's a good veteran. You put Debo and Terry McLaurin, I'm happy with it, Larry.
McLaurin is every bit as much a number one receiver as Aiyuk is. They're on the same caliber. I mean, Ayuk's more valuable because he's younger.
He's been putting up 1,000-yard receivers with plumbers thrown to him. I mean, he's kind of like doing the same thing that Mike Evans has been doing through his career.
Yeah. Atomic Proton says, Raj, what do you do for work?
I'm a physical therapist.
Raj is a shepherd. He's a shepherd. So he has a stick and he stands in a field. And he went to San Jose State for that degree.
No, I did not.
Shepherd University.
Yeah.
No, what? You're not a shepherd.
No.
Raj is not a shepherd. Go ahead, tell him, Raj, what you do.
I got my doctorate in physical therapy way back in 2012.
You have a doctorate.
Yeah, I am a doctor.
I'm talking to Dr. Raj.
You are, yeah. So I've got a doctorate in physical therapy. I'm a physical therapist. I specialize in like neuro rehab, stroke rehab. So I work at a rehab clinic, and I also do home health care on the side. So yeah, nothing big. Nothing big.
Larry and the Doc. Do you ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah, I used to love that show. I haven't watched it in a while, but it's a good show.
Larry thought his neighbor was stealing his paper off his porch, and he confronted him, right? And he's like, I'm pretty sure you're stealing my newspaper. And the guy looks at him. He's like, Larry, I'm a doctor. And he goes, I still think you've probably taken that newspaper, off the porch. I still believe you're stealing my paper. He's like, Larry, I'm a doctor. And he gave me, it's an awesome scene. And it's an awesome scene. Raj, you're a doctor. You're a doctor.
Something like that.
Look at you.
I should have been a PA, honestly. I would have traded all to be a PA.
PA stands for?
Physician assistant.
Why is that better?
Less hassle, more money.
More money?
Yeah.
But Raj, you're a doctor.
Yeah, PTs, we kind of get disrespected. I'm not gonna lie.
You are a doctor.
Yeah, I got my doctorate.
Are you an MD?
No, like a doctor of physical therapy.
Oh, you have I got you. So it's a doctorate degree, but we can't call you Dr. Raj.
I mean, technically, yeah, you can call me a doctor of physical therapy, but
do you have your patients call you doctor?
No, I'm not. I tell them, just call me Raj, whatever. I don't care.
Do they say to you, may I call you doctor? And you say you may not.
And when I first got my, I was like, oh, you can call me. I was like, I'm so past that. I just want to get in, see my patients, and get the fuck out of there at this point. That's it.
Blood Moon. Raj is a football guy.
Yeah, that's it. I'd rather be.
I've always said Raj is a football guy.
I'd rather be posting my content than working as a physical therapist. It's a great career. I've helped a lot of people, but I'd rather be posting content all day.
Thanks to everybody for supporting the stream. Go see Dr. Raj. The one thing I can say is if I had consulted a few more people like Raj, Dr. Raj, maybe I wouldn't have drafted Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Can't